Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm the Tooth Fairy, Derek Lemaster.
This is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and what?
Because when you backtalk me, I smack the shit right out you. And your teeth.
Oh my god.
Dang. All right. You said I was
Wow.
being feisty.
That's special. That is special. That's what that is. If I would give that a cereal, it would be Special K. That's how special that is. I would ask how you guys are doing tonight, but obviously Derek has been hitting the sauce.
I had a couple cocktails yesterday.
Still wore off. How's it going tonight, guys?
It's going good. How are you guys?
It's all right.
It's all right. We're good. The time of this recording, we are 2 days away from filming the opening scene of Secret Admirer. So we're almost there, guys. So it's crazy. Just a lot of prep work, getting stuff ready for us to be gone for the weekend.
If you squint real hard, you can probably see the starting line.
Yep, it's almost there. It's close.
We're almost close.
Been a long journey.
Yeah, I
just
promise,
to this
guys,
point.
I'll work on my material.
He's
I was
better
going to say,
at other stuff,
if you squint hard enough, you can see Derek's computer screen in his glasses.
You could. You definitely you were seeing that. Don't get too close, Derek. We might see something we don't want to.
Yeah, we might see those tabs you got open.
I have those
sexy
hidden,
squirrels. That's weird.
Whatever, Lydia. So I looked up the movie that we're gonna do tonight, right? And because I just wanted to see who the actors were, and on IMDb, the like little trailer that it plays has flat out nudity in it, and I was like, "What? I've never seen that before." On IMDb,
it showed some boobies. It showed some breasts because, guys, that's what this movie's about. And we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, murder.
We're gonna get deep into it. But first,
well, not death and murder, nudity and murder.
Death and murder.
Murder, death, kill. Who are you?
That's the shirt.
Demolition Man. Let's get into the horror news. We don't have a lot, so we can kind of breeze through them. But what we have is kind of cool. Let's start with this one. Radio Silence, the filmmakers behind Ready or Not, are teasing a sequel to Ready or Not. And they said it's getting figured out, and what they'll say is there is a script, and it's an absolute fucking banger of a sequel. And however it gets made, in whatever capacity we are helping get it made, we are excited that it's happening. So, of course, Samara Weaving is returning as well. Derek, I don't think you've seen Ready or Not yet, have you?
No, I was just looking this up.
Yeah, it's Lydia. You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're looking forward to a sequel to Ready or Not?
Definitely. That movie is pretty fun.
Yeah, we'll have to do it for the show one of these days. It's an interesting one. It's I would say I might like it, I might not. You have to watch the episode to find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm down for anything that I like. Radio Silence, they've done good work so far, but I will watch anything, and I mean anything with Samara Weaving in it. So she's great. She's phenomenal. So she could read a phone book to me, and I'd say, "Great job, Samara Weaving. You're excellent. Marry me." No, I wouldn't say the last part. All right. Sarah would be sitting beside me saying, "What? Like nothing."
Or you guys could move to Utah and then came on.
No problems. All right. This is pretty cool news, guys. So Zoe Bell, you guys know Zoe Bell, right? The stunt woman and actress from Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, especially.
Okay.
Who plays as Zoe in the movie. She is making her directorial debut with a thriller, a rock climbing thriller called Free Fall. It's going to star Zachary Levi, and it tells the story of a father's attempt to reconcile with his estranged daughter on a rock climbing trip that turns deadly as an accident leaves them stranded hundreds of feet in the air.
Oh no.
Sounds
I feel like I've
solid.
seen that movie before.
Sounds
Well,
scary.
You've kind of seen every movie before, to be honest.
That is totally fair. Totally fair.
That sounds fun. I like Zoe
That
Bell a
sounds fun.
lot. So I'll give it a shot. Though they don't make enough of those kind of. I mean, they had Fall not too long ago, a couple years ago that came out. But like, do you remember the good old Cliffhanger was a thing in the '90s, and who could
Yep,
forget
that's what I was
the Martin Campbell classic Vertical Limit? You guys remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
See, I personally am terrified of heights, so I try to stay away from those movies.
Oh man, Vertical Limit is like a nostalgia hit for me. Chris O'Donnell. When that movie came out, that's one of like the early DVDs we owned, and we never went to rent it or anything. Mom just fucking bought Vertical Limit on DVD one day, and we were like, "Well, here it is."
Lydia, what was the first DVD you owned?
Ooh, I have to think about that. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head.
I know mine.
I know. What's yours?
This is gonna sound ridiculous. So I was given to me by my cousin's father. It Could Happen to You.
Maybe Uncle. Uncle is the name of that, by the way.
No, he's not my uncle. He was my uncle by marriage at some point, but he's not my uncle anymore. But anyway, It Could Happen to You with Nicolas Cage and Bridget Fonda.
Yeah. My very first DVD was Gone in 60 Seconds. The banger.
Nice.
Mine was
Angelina
probably like
Jolie.
Scooby-Doo or something.
Yeah, probably.
Scooby-Doo.
That would track. Hey,
Because you're
you know what?
young, Lydia.
I remember Mom bringing the DVD player home and me watching it and being like, "Look how great it looks," because the resolution was like so much better than VHS, and now it kind of looks like dog shit. But then it was top of the line. Guys, this is interesting. Sydney Sweeney's new horror film, Immaculate, is now available streaming at home. You can rent it. It's available for digital purchase for $19.99, or you can rent it for $9.99 on most streaming services. It will be coming out on Blu-ray and DVD June 11th. So I've heard some pretty good things about Immaculate. I have not seen it yet. I wanted to go check it out. But it being already to streaming, it's done $21 million at the worldwide box office on like no budget. So pretty good for it. And I'm always about new horror, and the fact that Sydney Sweeney championed this movie, executive produced it, and starred in it. It's like she's like a horror fan, so we need all the horror fans we can get in Hollywood. Yeah. So that's fun. And then lastly, guys, here's the big news. Not big news, but fun news. So Hearts of Darkness, which is a documentary on Jason Goes to Hell, has completed the editing stage. So it is Hearts of Darkness, the making of the Final Friday, because as we all know, that movie was a shit show, both on screen and off screen.
I didn't know that. I mean, on screen it had its problems, but I didn't know anything about the behind the scenes stuff.
So you didn't? Oh
no.
Yeah, you'll have to watch. I know all the shit behind it. I mean, of course I do, right? Of course I do. But I mean, I own the Crystal Lake Memories book. I've watched the Crystal Lake Memories doc. I've read I've exhausted every piece of Friday the 13th merchandise I can until they make a new fucking movie. So it's like, this is an interesting story. This movie went through just wild stuff behind the scenes, the editing being taken away, the color timing being screwed, the director not having any experience to do what
Jason being in like 4 frames of the movie.
That is a problem that he still says to this day was Sean Cunningham, saying, just, whatever you do, get him out of the hockey mask. So he took that as, hey, let's recreate the hidden, but make it shitty. But,
I
it's
wasn't
open to
too down on
interpretation.
his look, but literally he's in the opening scene. Then he
Mhm.
makes an appearance in a mirror,
Mhm.
and and then he's at the end, and that's it.
Well, dude, we'll be getting into Jason Goes to Hell eventually. I mean, I think we're on Friday part 5, so we only have 5 more movies, counting part 5, to get there. So we'll get there probably season 12. That's not true. We watch one of those at least once a year, so we'll probably get through it here soon. And that's kind of it. That wraps up the horror news. Are you excited for that, Doc, Derek, since you didn't know anything about it? How about you, Lydia?
Yeah.
I love horror documentaries. I just love to learn about all the behind the scenes stuff. So that'll be super fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's always fun to see how, especially if it's like a troubled, uh, production. If you watch if you watch Heart of Darkness, the making of Apocalypse Now, that is a wild fucking ride.
Really?
I mean, oh my god! I mean, they shot it for years, and Martin Sheen had a fucking heart attack on set. It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. It's amazing, especially when you look at that movie and it's just a masterpiece of a film, and you're like, okay, Francis Ford Coppola in the 70s was just like a different beast. Francis Ford Coppola now is an entirely different animal who is having trouble financing or distributing his latest movie, which is unfortunate because he's Francis Ford Coppola. Distribute his movie. If it sucks, it doesn't matter. It's Francis Ford Coppola. He's earned that, I feel like.
Yeah.
That was my little soapbox moment. I apologize. But let's move on. Guys, picture it. It's 1980. Well, first, it's 1978. You go to the movies and you watch this flick. And you don't know what it's about, but it's called Halloween. It's directed by John Carpenter. And you're like, that was terrifying. Wow, that's a really scary movie. And then you hear about this other movie that is coming out in 1980 called Friday the 13th. So it owes a great debt to John Carpenter's Halloween because Sean Cunningham said, let's rip off Halloween and make money, which is what they did. So you see that, you're like, man, I really like this kind of genre of film. It's a genre that has been known since as the slasher genre. And from 1980 to about 1984, 85, clear up to even maybe 87, you could say, we had a slasher boom, right? Especially the early 80s. And following the footsteps of these, we have tonight's film, which is a slasher movie by the name of The Slumber Party Massacre. 1982. You go into the movie theaters, you sit down, and this is what you get with your popcorn, and you probably have a good time. But let's talk about it. Lydia, have you ever seen Slumber Party Massacre before?
I've never seen it.
First watch.
First watch.
Have you heard of Slumber Party Massacre before?
Oh, definitely. Definitely I've
And
heard of it. I cannot believe I've never seen this.
Have you seen the poster before?
Yeah.
1,000,000% in the video store, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm as anyone who considers themselves a horror lover, this gets brought up. I kind of can't believe I've never seen it before. Like, it's one of those. I'm like, what? I was missing out on this? What the heck? I messaged my best friend and was like, why did we never watch this?
Derek, this is not your first time watching this yet, no?
Nope. Man, I don't remember the last time I saw that. It had to be the early 90s. And I do remember, browsing through the VHS tapes at Video West, and, you see, this and Video Stop and Blockbuster Video. So, yeah, I was -1 when this movie came out, just to put it in perspective of how old I am. And so, yeah, I've seen it a couple times. Been a long, long time, though.
Yeah, so I, like you, Derek, had watched this when I was way too young to have watched it in the 90s. So put it in perspective, the oldest I could have been in the 90s, the oldest was 13. Like, uh, so I probably watched it when I was 12, 10, something like that. But so I've known about this movie for a long time. Obviously, I always saw the classic poster. And then I've actually, as an adult, in recent years, I've watched this movie like 2 or 3 times. I was scrolling through, found it on Shudder, and I was like, "Oh, Slumber Party Massacre. Okay, let me watch this one. This one seems, I haven't seen this in a long time since I was a kid." And oh, had a time. I won't give away too much how I feel yet, but I watched it. Obviously, I liked it enough that I watched it 3 times in the last several years. So, yeah, this is like the 3rd time I've watched it in the last several years. At least I would say since 2020. I've seen it about three times probably. It's just one of those that you put on if you're in the mood for an 80s slasher and you don't want to watch the ones that you've seen a million times, just one that you've seen a couple. So that's what I hit up. So guys, where do you want to start with Slumber Party Massacre?
I want to start where we start every week, with the first 6 minutes of this film.
All right, Derek, tell us about the first 6 minutes.
The first 6 minutes, you know everything you need to know about this movie. You get the radio broadcast that the psychopath has escaped from the asylum. You get the naked teen, and you get a death. All of that information happens in the first 6 minutes of this film. So you know exactly, they put their cards on the table. This is where we're at, guys.
You also get the jokes in those first 6 minutes. Because what people don't really, what gets kind of underrated of people that don't watch this movie is this movie's really funny.
Yeah.
It has some really funny lines.
It really is. It really is.
A couple, man. Oh, there's a couple in here that really
has some funny lines and some pretty fun characters, really. But yeah, in the first 6 minutes, it does lay its cards on the table.
And they had a lot of fun intertwining the scenes with like good transitions. Like there's this one that was I forget the specifics of it, but it went from like her saying something like "ha ha ha" to like seeing the killer or something like that. But the transition was really well done. It was well timed, and you're just like, man, they had a plan.
So I like, so we're introduced to our characters and such, playing basketball. We have Val, who's like the new girl that's just kind of moving in. Trish is our you think Trish is kind of our lead. She is the co-lead with Valerie. They're both kind of the co-leads of this movie. And what's interesting about Trish being like a co-lead is because we open up directly with her, showing her topless. And we know that she, smokes pot, and she, is sexually active. Like, so she's like the opposite of what you normally think of a final girl. And then Valerie is everything that is a final girl. So you kind of have this dichotomy of these two. And we might as well talk about it right up on Front Street, since we talked about the nudity. There is a decent amount of breasts in this movie.
Yeah.
They do not shy away. So this movie, by the way, was directed by Amy Holden Jones.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So female.
So that 10 times
yes.
fast.
But it was produced by Roger Corman. The legend Roger Corman. And so, there's, have some more breasts. It's probably the edict that they were getting. And she's like, hey, I gave them the movie they wanted. They wanted breasts and nudity. I gave them breasts and nudity along with the rest of the stuff. So we definitely, on the boob scale, this is a high one because there's quite a bit.
There is a lot. And like, I have to say, it was done like so tastefully. Like, I watched this movie by myself. Jake had a headache today and didn't want to watch it, and I was like, Jake, you missed out on this movie.
You missed out on the tits.
Yeah. I was like, I think you would really like this movie. No, but on the other hand, you also have like the scenes of like the girls' perspective of it. It's not just like, you know, this is just for the guys. Like, it's like the girls are looking at like magazines of men and stuff, like
they are,
and I really appreciated that, and that makes so much sense that it was directed by a woman, because you really do not see that a lot in other movies that are directed by men, you know, especially slashers in the 80s.
1982. Yeah,
It's like kind of from a feminist point of view a little bit.
Yeah, so
I do gotta say, I didn't know that Stallone was in this movie.
Yes, so and the Playgirl.
That's
that
hilarious.
Cracked me up. Yeah, it cracked me
Italian
up.
Stallion.
I forgot Playgirl was like ever a thing. I was like, Playgirl, what?
So funny. Yep. And their centerfolds, it's so good. The fact that she, like, you know, don't rip out the centerfold this time.
Yeah.
Dude,
I love that scene.
I got a question to make sure it wasn't just me. The banana was a gag, right?
The what?
I wasn't sure about that either.
The banana.
The banana peel that was in her bed.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay. I was like, what are
That's
they
a joke,
at
yes.
Here? Okay.
Yes, there's a joke there. The banana peel, because, you know, you peel the banana and you use the banana. So,
what you eat?
Maybe with your sound mouth.
I will be honest with you. I have never heard that term in my life.
Me neither.
I heard it on Saturday Night Live.
So you heard it on okay.
Yeah, Saturday Night
Live. We can leave it in then.
Yeah, heard it on Saturday Night Live this weekend, and so I was like, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I'm going to use that. I'm going to crib that line.
There you go.
Yeah, so our characters are pretty fun. Like I said, we have Trish and we have Val, and then we have all of her friends, Trish's friends, which is like there's Jackie and there's Diane and Courtney. I don't know who each of these are. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. There were so many. There's no way you could keep up with it.
And then there's also the coach, who actually I kind of like a lot. The coach character, the gym coach. And then we get our first kill within that first 6 minutes, Derek, as you were saying.
Yep.
So we have that fun. We have we get 2 kills pretty close together, because we have the one with the off-screen kill of the first kill, which is where he gets the drill bit, because it's the woman working on the phone, and that guy's trying to hit on her because of, I mean, who wouldn't? But
I mean, back in the day, I wouldn't have had the kahunas to do that.
No, but you would have wanted to.
I would have walked up with my calculator and been like, "Would you like? Can I have your number?" Been like, I don't understand. To divide by pi.
She just would have looked at you and said, "You're not happening at all." You don't even need to say the line. She would just tell you. But that's a pretty effective kill, because I mean, it's mostly off screen, but we get like we get the killer's weapon of choice at that point. And I think
it's crazy.
Yeah. And so then I think the chase, what do you guys think of the chase through the school with the student?
It's good, suspenseful. You get to see him drill through a door. It's a big ass drill.
I don't remember who that was. Who was he chasing through the school?
It was one of her friends that splits off. She's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go."
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I literally just watched this movie, and I'm like,
yeah,
I need to watch this movie like 10 more times.
Yeah, she goes, "Hey, I'm gonna go. I forgot my book," and so she has to go back in.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, so she goes back in to get the book, and she obviously is chased by our killer, Russ Thorne, I believe is his name. and we see bits of his face, but we really see it at the end, towards the end, middle end, and he's a fucking weirdo. What do you guys think? Let's talk about him real fast. What do you guys think of Russ Thorne as the killer?
I think he does great, but I also think it's so weird and unexpected that they just like it's just a guy. Like how is this not like some kind of monster, like deformed human or something, like it's just a dude with a drill.
Dude, without a mask, nothing. Just running around
Yeah.
with the drill.
Yeah. It's
Well, he's crazy.
it's
He's nuts. But yeah,
Yeah,
you're
what
right.
do you
Yeah,
he's mad.
they could have got a more opposing person, but he was good enough to pick off like 9 or 10 of them. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like him. I think he's I think he's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I think the fact that he's like just crazy and like just like the way he moves his face and stuff, and especially in the later scenes, I think he's got an interesting face for that. So
and he has very little dialogue, but the dialogue that he does have at the end, he was like he said something to the effect of, you have to really love somebody to kill them. I'm like,
yeah, essentially like
do you?
you have to love somebody to do this. Yeah, and he talks about how
Yeah,
much he loves her, and you're like,
Yeah.
ugh,
You're like, oh.
ugh.
there are many forms
Yeah.
of love.
Yep, the many forms. So our story takes off proper when we get to the titular slumber party. But before we do, let's talk about Trisha's neighbor, who's a fucking
Oh,
weirdo.
right.
Am I the only one that thinks he's a weirdo?
Oh no! He's definitely
Pretty weird.
a perv. He's 100%
Like,
a perv.
why was he in their house?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the snail scene.
Yeah, the snail scene, weird too.
Weird.
Well, apparently
I was
her
like,
maybe it's like a neighborhood club because her dad does
Yeah.
it. They walk around
Yeah.
at night
well,
with
that's
a
fine.
fucking giant knife and killing slugs.
Yeah. It's like a meat cleaver, and it's like, yeah, I get that it's like a pest problem that you're trying to deal with, but he like straight up snuck up on someone, and like, you do not have to like sneak up on a snail. Like, it's not gonna get scared away. Like, they barely move. Like,
Is it gonna run,
he did not.
Lydia? Is it gonna run away?
He did not need to like sneak up behind that girl to axe that thing in half.
Yeah, it's not like
that.
he's not dealing with fucking Turbo, right?
Oh my god!
He's not dealing with Turbo. But yeah, he's just a weird guy. And like the fact that he's in their house, and then later he's like sees the weed stuff. He's like, "Well, I won't tell your mom if you don't tell her I was in the house." And you're like, "But why were you in the house?" I still don't understand.
He gives off Ted Bundy vibes.
He's an interesting guy. Don't
Where
worry,
he's like good looking, so they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, he's fine, he's nice." He's like, he's too close. He's
and
too
apparently,
close to you.
apparently he is nice, but he's just weird. And I think he was there. I don't know why he was there. It would make sense if it was a whodunit slasher, right? Where we don't know who the killer is, but we know who the killer is. We know it's Russ Thorne. We know he's escaped.
So that and they kill him off. They kill the neighbor off pretty early.
Yeah, he gets taken out pretty quick.
Yeah.
He's Dunsky. Then we have the so at the titular slumber party, we have typical stuff. We have them smoking weed. We have them changing their clothes and just being naked around each other. And we have the two guys peeping in on them. And they're like, this is I've died and gone to heaven. And you're like, you're also a peeping Tom.
Yeah. I thought for sure that they were going to get seen.
Yeah, no, instead they're like, let's play a prank on them and scare them and pull their fuses out of their fuse, which when they pulled the fuses, by the way, it made me laugh because I was like, oh my God, I forgot that's what they used to fucking do, fuses instead of a breaker box,
Right?
Mm-hmm. Like
pull
little
the
round
fuse.
thing.
Yep, little round fuse.
Some of the ones that screw in.
He's like, here's your fuse, because they fucking turn off the lights, so they all, go out to the garage. And Trish has this one friend, who Diane is her name, and she's the one that didn't want to invite Valerie to the party. She's kind of like a snoot, right? And she also is all about her boyfriend. So after the boys, they catch the boys because they, knock one of them out, essentially. And have to put, like, hot dogs on this. Which, by the way, when they put hot dogs in that guy's face, that's fucking hilarious. She's like, do you have any steak? I'll go see. Well, I don't have steak. She just has a handful of hot dogs. He's like, I don't think it's going to work. I'm like,
Like
that's
the same
hilarious.
That's like such a 70s thing too, I feel like,
Yeah,
like,
it is.
to put a steak on your face.
Yeah, that's
like,
what they
you don't do that anymore.
Not an ice
Didn't they do
pack.
that
But
in
get a
Camelot?
get a good old piece of
I've
steak,
got-
pop it right on your face. Has healing
Yeah.
powers, you see.
Yeah. Something special about that.
Yep. So, what do you guys think of the death of Diane and her boyfriend? Because her boyfriend's death technically happens off screen, but we get to see the aftermath in the car because she, of course, keeps the garage. She doesn't lock it like she's supposed to each time, and lets old Russ Thorne in. And she. What do you think of her or his death, where he's like decapitated in the car, and then she gets the drill?
Oh man, first of all, it was so frustrating, like to watch her because it's like she like clearly didn't really want to. Like she was like she should have just made her boundaries very clear and been like, I'm at my all girl slumber party with my friends, and this is like the last. It's kind of important.
Yeah.
And she should have. It's so frustrating when they do that in these movies, and then she comes out there and she's like, all right, and like tries to kiss him and his head falls off.
Yeah. I guess he's not getting any head tonight.
I was gonna go there, but you beat me to it.
They say something. They make a joke like that when they're reading the like horoscopes in the paper.
Yeah.
First of all, I really like how in this movie, I don't know why, but it kept like being brought to my attention that there is like no technology.
Yeah,
and people,
there isn't any.
People just did random things all the time to keep themselves entertained, like that little wind-up shoes that was like
okay. So, like we mentioned, we're gearing up to shoot the movie in a few days, 2 days. And I watched this on Sunday, and that shot happened. And, I have the shot list. We know what we're shooting, but, I'm watching that, and I was like, I would have never thought, hey, you know what? Here's an idea. Let's put some wind-up shoes, and let's open the shot on those. And then pan to the telephone. I was like, what a fucking wild shot just to put in this movie. Like, it's just... But I kind of dig it.
Good,
I was like,
though. It's so
like
good.
I kind of like it.
Yeah. And it's like, oh wow, yeah. Just what a weird idea. Unless
that was in the script.
We don't do things like that.
Yeah, unless it was in the script. She's playing with wind-up toy. Then you might have thought, oh, let's open with that. That'll be fun. But like, if that wasn't even in the script, and she's like, hey, I got an idea. Check this out. I got these wind-up shoes.
Yeah, if they're just like shooting in someone's house, that might have like actually been there. Like there might have been like,
oh god,
just something that they, it just seems so natural.
It is. Well, that's what it does. It adds to the slice of life to it, because it's apparently that's what. No, if we did it in a movie today, it'd be like, that's a fucking weird. Why is that in there? Nobody plays with wind-up shoes. But I guess in 1982, somebody was like, hey, I have 3 pairs of those.
Yeah, it's like they're probably laying around everywhere.
Yeah, they're sitting right beside my telephone too. Let's talk about the pizza guy before we talk about Val in her situation, because the pizza guy just mind his own beeswax, trying to get some, trying to deliver some pizza, and when they open the door, they just see a pizza dude with no eyes, just his eye holes drilled out.
Well, and I love they're trying to figure out what the score of the baseball game was or is, one of the two.
This is such a thing this is another. Now we have these little devices that we could say, who scored all the runs? Boom, 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 boom. Then they had to literally call their coach and say, so we saw the score, but who scored all the points in last night's ball game?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, oh boy, Homered, of course. Yeah, of course. And it's like the fact that they're like, hey, I want to get to the bottom of this. Let's call Coach Jones or whatever the fuck her name is. Let's just call her up and see if she
because
knows what happened.
the reason I bring that up is they ask through the door. They think they're talking to the pizza guy. They ask him, "Oh man, what's the score?" And you hear him go, "I'm up to 6 or something or 6," because he has killed 6 people, I think.
Yeah.
So it played into it.
That
It's
was
pretty
awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And
I was like, that got me.
Yeah, it's good.
6
And then
so far. I
Yep.
think is what he said.
Yeah, I think
so
that's
cool.
It. And
Pizza
then
guys,
no eyes.
guys, I was just smiling. Okay, I had a smile on my face this whole movie.
So he falls in with no eye hole, with just eye holes, no eyeballs.
Yes.
And they of course lock the door immediately, and like, oh my god, we'd stay safe. And the coach, like, so they hang up on the coach instead of being like, oh my god, call the police. And they try to call the police, and of course he cuts the phone wire, which is also another thing in the 80s, right? Because now you could just do it. You can just do it. So
yeah, or you lose signal.
Yeah, you lose signal. I mean, that happens from time to time. But so I mean, this is when when they realize that they're fucked, they're in trouble. But meanwhile, we have Valerie and her little sister having just like this funny comedy going on in the other area. What do you guys think of their little story?
That little banter that they had, where she's doing her little sister's makeup, right?
Yeah, Courtney is her name.
Yeah, she was like, Valerie or Val, do you think I'll ever be as pretty as you? And then a normal person would be like, but you're already pretty. And she's just like, I forget what she said, but it definitely wasn't that. I rewound it. I was like, not a nice thing to say. Like, I don't know.
She's basically like, no.
Not really. But to be fair, Valerie is stunning. So that's going to be a hard.
She is, but still,
that's a hard mountain to climb.
She is pretty stunning.
So
but yeah, like says, she should have been like, yeah, you're beautiful the way you are, like whatever, encouraging. But they like bicker, like they're just like mean sisters, like always fighting.
Yeah, because there's this whole bit
they love each other.
There's this whole bit where they're talking about like that she was giving hand jobs to boys in like since the 5th grade or something. And she's like, did you tell mom? And then Courtney's on the phone with her little friend talking about how she fresh kissed a boy and how horrible it was. His tongue was all slimy.
Yeah, she's like, I wanted to throw up.
Yeah, that's funny shit. So the guys get the idea that, hey, the only way we can let's split up. So one of us will run one way, one of us will run the other. He can only chase one of us. Hopefully we both make it, but if not, at least one of us can go and get help. And so that's the plan they go with. And it goes immediately horrible for the first guy.
Yeah.
He's immediately caught. And
dude,
then
I thought those guys were going to kiss for a minute when they were sitting on the bed.
Yeah, they were their best bros.
They're like, well, I was like, for one, okay, they just saw someone get murdered. Why did they go in this room, close the curtains, and then sit down? Like, what? There's no way you would just sit down on the bed together and just be
that was so that way they
listen.
could well, it's that was their way of game planning. So that they're like, we got to keep the girls out of this. We got to do this for the girls.
I
And
just
so
think adrenaline, you'd be like losing your mind if you just saw a dead body like that. Don't you think?
Maybe
like,
these guys.
Shia LaBeouf, let's go. What I'd have been like, it. Just do it.
They so the one guy gets killed pretty much immediately. Then the other guy makes it to Valerie's and bangs on the door. But she's watching a horror movie, so appropriately, so she doesn't hear it.
Super loud.
Yeah, and she's blaring it. I mean, like, I have surround sound, Dolby Atmos in my house, and that TV was probably rivaling it. She just has it cranked to 20. The old tube TVs. So it's coming out mono signal. But man, yeah, so she can't hear it, and he gets, you know, he escapes. Like, he gets, because the one guy gets drilled in the arm and lives, because then he makes it to the door and tries to get in with Valerie and everyone later. Because first, the one girl decides that this is a good time to eat pizza. Let's talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, some
Disgusting.
people stress eat. I don't blame her. Although that pizza, I know the dead body landed
She,
on it, but
yeah.
she was eating it
I'd
off of
want
his
my money back.
back.
I'd want a
So
refund.
funny. I was like, yep, why not?
That was funny.
And so she gets, her throat slit by the drill. And then the guy gets murdered outside the door because he won't open it. They won't open it for him. He gets killed, and we see the blood. And at this point, the coach has called Valerie. By the way, these people have they have such this strong relationship. All these people. She calls Valerie, and she's like, "Hey, do you hear anything? I know you live next door." And she's like, "No, it looks kind of quiet." And she's like, "Okay, want me to go over there? Or why don't you go over there and check?" I really don't think, I don't feel comfortable doing that. No, you're probably right. If there's an issue, maybe I shouldn't fucking send a high school student to go check on it. Maybe not.
Call the police.
Yeah, call the fucking police. Nope, coach instead just heads that way. She's like, I'm on the way. Valerie's like, I've got to see what's going on. So she goes over there with Courtney. Not yet. First, she goes over by herself and just checks it out and hollers for, hey, anybody?
Well,
They're locked up in the bedroom, hiding from Russ Thorne.
So she has a motive to why she does. Not only does she not want to go over there, but so there's the scene in the shower where they're talking about her. Yeah, and then but she walks over and invites her, and she already feels like they don't like us. So she
heard old Diane.
Why she doesn't want to go over there.
Yeah, because Trish tried to invite her, and Diane's like, no. And so she's like, well, I'm going to invite her anyway, and she already overheard it, so she's like, no, thanks. So after Valerie leaves first, Val leaves to go get her sister, and then Russ Thorne comes in the window. What do you guys think of the scene where he comes in through the window?
That was pretty good. I mean, it's silly because it's just so brightly lit, and they're just like thinking, like, what if she's like, she didn't want to come over because she's with him.
That's the one thing I did not like. I was like, why would she even think? That doesn't even make sense for her to think.
I think so. I kind of caught that, like, she was like, like the girl that was eating the pizza, whatever her name was, she was killed as she opened the door, and she was opening the door for that girl. So they were like, maybe it was her. She was outside of the door just knocking, and maybe she's with the killer. That's what I was like, that kind of, I wouldn't have put that together, but yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make, I was like, I always, every time that she says that line, I'm like, that doesn't even make sense for her character, but whatever, that's fine.
I liked it. I thought it was, because like I said, it's like, there, your reaction to like seeing something so violent like that would maybe not be like, would not make sense even,
Well, everybody else was making sense.
I would be the one to like not trust anybody and be jumping to those conclusions. So that's why I understood. I was like, yeah, maybe it is her.
No, I was like, that would just doesn't track. But what's funny is, what I do like is after he gets into the room and he tries to attack him, they knock him out like fucking instantly. Yeah. Why they don't just proceed to bash his face into a pulp is a horror movie cliche. Because when they knocked him out, I mean, that's when I would have just been smashing his face in with that.
Yeah, tie him up, like subdue him or something. Like.
But no, he stands back up,
obviously.
And he stands back up and stabs her friend, putting her out of commission. We don't know if she dies necessarily. I'm assuming she probably does, but we don't know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But this is great though, because what ends up happening from this is when Valerie and Courtney go back, because she escapes. Trish, she escapes into like the closet and hides in like the
The bag.
plastic
This
bag.
yeah.
Yeah, garment bag, and they go in and they're searching because he's still upstairs searching for her. They come in and they're like, hey, let's go. And Courtney's like, oh no, let's steal some beer while we're here, whatever. She's like, you're underage, you're not drinking. So there's that great bit where she keeps opening the fridge and Kim's like in there like dead.
Mm-hmm.
And she almost falls out, then she shuts it. Almost falls out, she shuts it. Then she goes back to grab the beer and she falls out. What do you guys think? I think that's a good bit.
I do too.
I thought it was good.
Yeah. It was.
It's a lot of fun.
It's so fun because like I really was on the edge of my seat. Like I was like, is she not gonna see it? Is she not gonna see it? And then like when she finally like falls out, I was like, oh my god,
run!
And then this scream there, I had to make a mental note of like how good that scream was too.
Yeah, it was a good one. Because Russ Thorne comes down and Courtney hides under the couch, and Val runs down into the basement and is locks herself in the basement from him. And then he decides, you know what's a good idea? I'm just going to take this blanket and I'm just going to lay down and cover myself up. So that way whoever comes down here is going to be killed. So, of course, Coach Jana comes in, and she checks the blanket and is attacked by him instantly. And we get like a fun little fight between them where Courtney trips him and they hit him with a fire poker, but they don't finish the job, of course, and he slashes her in the stomach with the drill. And then she, Trish is down, or not Trish, but Val is down with trying to figure out what weapon she can use. She's trying to use this saw, but it's plugged in, so she's stuck, and all of that stuff.
I was like, why don't you just unplug it and run up the stairs and plug it back in really quick? Yeah, I mean, like, it's taking you exactly as long to, like, go find another weapon.
She finds a good one, though, and they both attack him, and they all attack him, and they, like, fuck him up pretty good. They stab him in the back.
Well, once they get that machete, they cut the drill bit in half.
Well, that's at the very end, Derek. That's at the very end. In the house, they just stab him, and then he runs away when she runs up, and he's like, ah! He sprints out of there.
The fact when she tripped him, I was like, yes, trip him. I was so afraid that he was gonna like get her under that couch, and when she was like, she had the advantage there.
So, Derek, what do you think of the actual ending that you were talking about at the pool? Because he gets fucked up pretty good.
He does, man. He gets his hand cut off. He gets thrown into a pool. You think he drowned, but then he didn't. Then he got back out. And then how did they actually?
He gets impaled.
Yeah.
So
falls on the machete.
So that the whole ending is a reshoot because a lot of it took place originally in just living room, but the movie was testing so well that they were like Roger Corman gave her more money to reshoot the ending to make it like bigger, and so they did it at the pool, and it was great because they also let him. I mean, they castrate him. By cutting that drill, breaking the drill bit. That's metaphorical castration of him. They're taking back the power. They castrate him, and then he, gets freaking his hand chopped off with that machete. Dude, I mean, when he's stabbed and he's in the water and you think he's dead, and he, comes up and then she chops off his hand and he's yelling at her, "I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna." It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
kill
you.
He's choking her with one hand.
One hand, yeah. And then, he slaps the one girl with one hand too, and then he gets stabbed, and then he jumps at her, and she was able to grab the machete and stabs him, kills him, and then it just ends with all of them kind of standing over him in shock. and
Yeah,
we're
it
out.
shows each of their faces, like just like
Yeah,
little bit of blood, little bruise or whatever that they got,
yeah.
like
Yeah,
battle
they just
battle
survived this
faces.
battle.
Yeah,
Battle scars. Yeah, what do you guys think of that ending? Pretty solid, right?
I think it's badass.
Solid,
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I think it's badass too. It's a lot of fun. The movie is pretty tight and fun as well.
It is. There's not a lot of fat in this movie.
No, what do you guys think of Slumber Party Massacre? What do you guys think of this one?
You want to go, Derek?
Sure, I'll go. So I don't know what the budget for this movie was, but I do think they could have gotten
$220,000.
$220,000, and I don't know what that would cost now. We could probably run the numbers on that, but I feel like I don't know. It's hard because though the acting was a little hokey, it kind of lends itself to to what they were really going for. You know what I mean? And the humor that it had in it, it was kind of pulled off because the actors were a little bit hokey. It's a hard movie to grade. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching it. I will watch it again. And when Clark is at least 13, hitting puberty, maybe we'll watch it. But man, it's so hard. It's so hard. I don't know what to rate this movie.
Wow.
I'm gonna
So $220,000 in 1982 is about $728,000
okay.
now.
So
Still under $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna go with a 6.75. I'm gonna go with a 7.
What do you think, Lydia?
I think it's a 10.
Oh, you think it's a 10?
This movie was great. Was it not? Was this movie not great? Because I had a blast watching this movie. I will 100% watch this again and recommend it to everyone. Like, that's
Lydia,
how much fun I had watching this.
how could you give this movie a 10 and you didn't like Lumberjack Man?
Okay, well, let's see. You really want to go through all the reasons I hated Lumberjack Man?
There were flapjacks everywhere.
Yeah. I don't know.
This is a 10.
this movie like moved me. I don't know. There was something about it. It inspired me. I really enjoyed it. I love the fact that it was directed by a woman. I feel like now I have to go do research and like just get to the bottom of like why I loved it so much.
So there's some interesting things. So the script was written by. Well, I'll give you my first. I give this movie. I think it's about a 7. I think it's a solid, good, fun 80s slasher movie. I don't think it's on par with the Friday the 13th movies or anything like that. I think those are better. They have better production value and better kills and better characters. But for what Slumber Party Massacre is, and if you're in the right mood for it, it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's funny. It's got some good characters. It's got the nudity, if that's your thing. It's got the solid suspense, a couple of solid suspense scenes, but it's got some decent gore. So yeah, I think it's about a 7. I almost went with Derek about a 6.5, but I think it's about a 7. It's a lot.
That is not what I was expecting. Oh, I'm like mind blown right now.
I mean,
Lydia,
I really like it. I like it a lot. Obviously, I picked it and I watched it 3 times in the last 4 years. So there's something about it that I enjoy. I just don't think it's not like a classic film to me, but it's a very strong 80s slasher. It's one of the best examples of an 80s slasher, I think. It's just fun, hokey and fun, and suspenseful when it needs to be. It's got a cool killer. So here's the thing about Slumber Party Massacre that's interesting. the script was originally written by Rita Mae Brown, who's a writer, and she wrote it as she's an author and a feminist author, and she wrote the screenplay originally titled Sleepless Nights. It was a parody of slasher movies, is what the original one was. But when producers repurposed her script into more of a serious slasher movie, so it was rewritten to be more of a serious slasher movie instead of a parody, and then Amy Holden got a hold of it. Amy Holden Jones got a hold of it, who was a film editor, and she wanted to direct, and she was given a number of scripts, and she chose this one because she thought it was a lot of fun. At that point, it was called Don't Open the Door. So it went through multiple different variations of titles, but it was called Don't Open the Door at that point. And she filmed the first 3 scenes with her husband, who was a cinematographer. And she ended up shooting the 3 scenes. Roger Corman was like, yeah, I'll finance it based off those 3 scenes. And here's what's funny is she had to turn down because they agreed to finance it and fast track the movie. So she had to turn down the editing job for Steven Spielberg's E.T.
Oh,
That's one of those missed opportunities there. That's a bad.
Or it was like meant to be, because like E.T. might have been like completely bad.
It might. Well, I don't think it would have been bad.
No, I know. I'm just saying it could have been different though.
It could have been different. I mean, E.T. is fucking E.T. And it's amazing.
Right.
But yeah, that's funny that she had to do this. So that's a little bit of backstory on the creation of this thing. And there's plenty of other trivia that you could look up. I did the other day after I watched it. But yeah, it's a fun little 80s slasher movie. It's not, you're never bored watching it because it moves pretty quick. It's a solid freaking 76 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was perfect, guys. This was a great movie. I can't believe you guys rated it so low.
I rated it a 7.
That's low. That's too low.
Derek rated it practically a 7. That's pretty, especially for just an 80s slasher.
Lydia, in our rankings, there is a movie that is like a 0.02.
Yeah.
Just think about that.
It's the Munsters. Way better. It's the Munsters, by the way.
Yeah.
The Munsters is not the best. And that is Slumber Party Massacre. The sequel is a fucking weird, different beast. We'll talk about that at some point. So, guys, who would Tom Atkins play in this one?
Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me.
Probably the guy who convinces the girl to leave the party.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe that.
I don't want to make him the creepy neighbor.
Yeah, I was going to say the creepy neighbor.
No, I think you're right.
The girl to leave a slumber party.
Tom Atkins could 100% do that. Yeah. That's in his wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah.
They would have, if he was the creepy neighbor, they'd have been like, "Hey, you want to smoke this weed with us?"
Yeah, that's true. So, a funny bit of trivia about that scene actually is so there's a shot of him like grabbing her boob in the car. That's an insert shot because the actress refused to get nude for it. That's why you never see her naked in the movie. Mm-hmm. But she refused it. She was trying to get pressured into doing it. She refused to do it. So they asked anybody on set. Amy Holden was like, anybody would be willing to be a boob stand-in. And somebody on set was like, yeah, I'll do it. So it's the actor grabbing somebody else's boob in that one shot.
That is crazy. Yeah, that's funny. Are any of these actresses like in other things?
Well, yes. One is definitely Brinky Stevens is a scream queen, and she was in tons of them like Sorority Babes and Slimeball, Bolorama, Nightmare Sisters. She's a like one of those cult scream queens.
Nice.
So she was in a bunch of stuff.
Wait, which one
Body
was she?
double. She's the girl that's killed in the gym at the beginning. And so she's in like Munchie and a bunch of different stuff.
Nice.
But no, none of the other. I mean, Robin Still as Valerie did some work afterwards. The girl that played Valerie was also in Sorority Babes and Slimeball Bolorama.
Nice.
She's also in Hard to Die, Sorority House Massacre 2, American Ninja 4, and she did some television work in the 90s. So she hasn't acted since 1996. But none of the other actresses don't look like they've done much. I don't think. Derek, whose turn is it to pick? Is it your turn to pick? Lydia's turn to pick. Lydia, it's your turn to pick.
Oh, crap. I thought the email said it was Derek's pick.
Yeah, but that's wrong.
It was wrong, Lydia.
Derek.
It's always we skipped a week, or we doubled up on a week, so now that's always wrong.
Let me think real quick. You know what?
Okay.
I got one.
Okay.
Let's do
Derek,
13
quit
Ghosts.
Quit sharing. 13 Ghosts? Okay.
Yeah.
Are we doing the William Castle version or the newer version, the Matthew Lillard version?
Well, I was thinking the newer version.
Okay, let's do that one.
I didn't even know there was another version, so.
Yeah,
I
it's a
haven't
William
seen
Castle
it in a
stuff.
very long time, and like it just keeps getting brought up on like my Facebook feed, and I'm like, man, I need to watch that.
Yeah.
Supernatural.
It is definitely supernatural. Let's see where it is streaming. Derek, are you looking it up?
Nope, I was
I'm
putting it in
doing it.
our tracker.
13 Ghosts streaming. And it is streaming on nowhere. You have to rent it from Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, Amazon Prime. But you can watch it at any of those areas. That is the 2001 horror mystery, as they call it. 2001's horror flick, 13 Ghosts, made from Ghost Castle Pictures. Derek, do you got anything for us tonight? Or no?
Nothing that I planned. Does anybody else have something that came to mind? Let's see here.
Nope. I mean, except for the fact that we are, going to be shooting a movie in a couple days. So
We are going to be shooting a movie.
we'll have pictures of behind the scenes. And we'll drop them right here. And probably at the beginning of the episode, too. That way you guys can see, hey, look, we did it. We were there. So we've got a lot of work to do on our ends. And we've got a movie to watch now, 13 Ghosts, starring Tony Shalhoub, Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth's in that as well, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Also, Hot Naked Killer Princess is in it as well. And a caged face scary man. We'll get into those ghosts. That's going to be fun. So next week, 13 Ghosts. You can catch it on all those places. And if there's nothing else for Derek the Master and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, guys, if you're going to scream bloody movies.